Well, I'm glad I waited. It's 12:44 in the afternoon on what is today, the 18th, the day after St. Patrick's Day, and this is the video for the 19th entitled Psychopathic Violations of Natural Law. A YouTube subscriber asked, "What is this natural law you speak of? Who gave it or wrote it?" I replied, "Natural law is that which is self-evident. If I came up to you, hit you over the head, took your purse and your ID, drove off in your car to your home, changed the locks, and moved my family in, you'd be okay with that, right?" Of course not. That's natural law. You simply know it's wrong. There could be lots of other examples. Common law is based on natural law, which are codified as maxims of law, although natural law itself does not need to be written anywhere. It just is. Governments run by psychopaths are the biggest violators of natural law on the planet. Before I actually get into this any further, I want to say why I am glad that I waited. I actually wrote that blurb probably 4 hours or more ago. And I was very heavy-hearted because I still hadn't heard from my good friend Peter Van Runt. And I was feeling like he was avoiding me. And I just within the last hour received or recognized, I opened the email. It may have been sent earlier than that, but I didn't see it till about an hour ago, in which he acknowledged my email to him, and he's been very, very busy in it, and he's been working to make sure that that common law and the common law CVACs and Constitution guidelines for God, Sky, Earth are implemented. He's on the ground making sure that that happens, and that makes me feel really good. And he told me that it's hard for him to stay on top of everything with all the work that he's doing, and it's not personal that it took him so long to respond, which made me feel, you don't know how good that made me feel, because I was taking it personally. And I have a tendency sometimes to do that. I consider him my best friend of all the people that are involved in Swiss Indo. He has been, or at least in my consideration, the best friend that I have. And I like to use him as a sounding board to get some feedback on, because he has a slightly different perspective than I do. And I appreciate his perspective, even when I don't 100% agree. And that's true with Aristo and anybody else that I deal with. I don't always agree 100%, but that's not the issue. The issue is I like feeling like I'm dealing with people that are in integrity to themselves. Because if I can feel that, they're going to be in integrity with me. Again, it goes back to the Shakespearean saying, "To thine own self be true, and as day follows night, thou canst not be false to another." People that are in integrity are going to be in integrity with everyone, because that's what integrity is. Now, natural law. I used the illustration. This was a woman that asked that question, and that's why I said if I took your purse. If it was a man, I would have said took your wallet, but took your identification and took the keys to your home and your vehicle, and I assaulted you. Assault is doing harm. Stealing is doing harm. Anything that's a violation of the golden rule is doing harm. Anyone that does anything to anybody that they wouldn't want that person to do to them is violating natural law. Pure and simple. It's not a complicated thing. It doesn't have to be written down. It's part of our nature. Now, unfortunately, psychopaths have that part of their nature seared. They have a seared conscience so that they can live without empathy. And that's one of the characteristics of a psychopath. They lack empathy. They lack natural compassion. They have trouble seeing themselves in the other person's shoes, which means that it's easier for them to violate the other person's rights. Under natural law, all beings All sentient beings have rights. And one of those rights is not to be violated against their will. The violation of another person's will is the violation of natural law. That's simply the way it is. Now, I don't want to get into the animal rights thing, but I know some people apply that to all animals as sentient beings. I'm applying it right now to humans because humans, again, and I've said this before, humans are the problem on Earth, not animals. Humans are the problem. And when we can get our own act together and start getting back to the natural law and the golden rule ourselves, when we can start getting back to the inherent peaceful nature of what it would mean to be a human, and human nature has been distorted. It is not human nature. It is subhuman nature when you're dealing with the psychopathic element, when you're dealing with the manipulated element where there's brainwashing going on, where there's mind control, where there's manipulation of the genes to turn off codons and stuff like that, such as has happened to humans on this planet. And it's been going on probably for thousands of years by extraterrestrials, perhaps. That's one of the theories. Do I know it's right? No, I don't know it's right. It's a possibility. Lots of things are a possibility. Do we know the truth? No, we don't know the truth. We only know what we've been exposed to. And we tend to react based on what we're exposed to. But natural law is inherent. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all humans are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable, unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as it is in the Declaration of Independence. These rights from the enlightened 18th century humans, squinting to think of, is that right, 18th century, because it was the 1700s, remember? And they recognized, these Masons that drafted the Declaration of Independence and the initial Constitution of the United States in the early years of the founding of this nation as a republic, they understood the basics. They understood, and common law had already been developed in England since the signing of the Magna Carta, which the king was forced to sign by the noblemen. Now, it's evolved a long way from then till the 21st century. I mean, we're talking 1,000 years ago, the Magna Carta, over 1,000, well, not quite 1,000 years. Yeah, over 1,000 years ago. 1066, wasn't it? Anyway, what has happened is lawyers and psychopathically bred individuals that believe that they have the right to rule, the divine right of kings and the divine right of priests, etc., to rule over ignorant people and take advantage of the people's ignorance. They perverted natural law by creating codes and ordinances and statutes and other acts of legislative bodies that subverted natural law and allowed the leaders, or I shouldn't say leaders, the rulers, to abuse the ignorant people under them and treat them as slaves. This is not tolerated, not to be tolerated anymore on this planet. That day when they could get away with that is up because too many people like me and like probably you if you're listening, or you to become, are becoming aware of these violations of natural law. All you have to do to understand natural law is ask yourself the question regarding any action that you're about to take. How would I feel if I was the one receiving this action? If I was the one upon whom this action was being taken instead of being the one taking the action? How would I feel? How would I feel if, as a police officer, I am assaulting someone whom I suspect, with no proof, of doing something wrong, unless I see them physically harming someone else, physically stealing something? Then I've witnessed a crime. I've witnessed a violation of natural law. then I have the responsibility and the right to uphold the law and stop that person in the action of doing so with as little violence to them as possible. It's not maximum violence, it's minimal violence. Whatever is required to restrain them and bring the situation under control peacefully. That's the role of a police officer doing his or her duty as a human being, as a sentient being under natural law. Unfortunately, the way that the police forces and the military are trained is not under natural law, but under a law of the jungle, a law of violence, a law of do unto others before they do unto you, a violation of the golden rule. And the trainers are people that are psychopathic, which is how we get our psychopathic states and governments and institutions that believe they can violate anybody's free will because most people are ignorant of what their rights are anyway. Well, it doesn't matter if an individual is ignorant of their rights or not. They still have rights. They are natural rights under natural law. And they are universal, not just on earth, but everywhere the natural law applies. But it has been violated by sentient beings who want to set themselves up as tyrants, but they don't call it that. They call it rulers or kings or other titles. They set themselves up over others. Well, the setting yourself up over others with the intent of dominating them, with the intent of telling them what to do and being their boss, that is a violation of natural law. Nobody has that right. Nobody, not God, does not have the right to violate the free will of another that is inherent in their creation. Nobody has the right. That's why I say that those that destroy life are violating natural law. It says in the Bible, God says in the Bible, I kill and I make alive. And God commanded killing in the Old Testament. And let not your eye spare nor pity even woman or suckling child or animal or anything. Just destroy, destroy, destroy. Well, that wasn't God. That was a very dark, dark side of God and an embodiment of God known as Jehovah, who was a tyrant, according to what is revealed in the Old Testament. We've evolved. God has evolved since then. God was a psychopath at that point. A psychopath. And that's where it comes from. God said, let us make man in our own image. That version of God. And remember, the ETs were seen by humans as gods. That's why it's let us make man in our, plural, plural, Elohim, plural. That was a sick aspect or a dark aspect of God. Jesus came to show the kind aspect, the love aspect of God. God is love and God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. Yet Moses drew near the thick darkness where God was. Light and dark doing their dance throughout the pages of sacred scripture. And not just in the Bible, but in the Quran, but in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Vedas, in all of the sacred writings throughout the earth. You have this picture developed, and at the core of it all is always the golden rule. Some form of the golden rule, which is the basis of natural law. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. However you word it, that's Hammurabi's code. That's the law of Moses. It's the law of Jesus. It's the law of Buddha. It's the law of Brahman and Shiva and the law of Krishna. All of it is the same law. It's natural law. It's the law written in our hearts. Now, what needs to occur in the 21st century is we need to awaken that law that's written on the fleshy tables of our hearts so that we learn how to behave toward ourselves and toward each other. A lot of people are very hateful of their own being, of their own embodiment and their own bodies and their own life. And so when they treat others badly, they are treating others as they would like to be treated because they see themselves in a very distorted manner. No, you're beautiful. You are wonderful. You are powerful. You are wealthy beyond measure. Each of you I'm speaking to right now, each one of you, that is who we all are. And you are that too. Even if you've never thought of yourself that way, you have tremendous potentiality within your DNA, within your being. You have unlimited potential, unlimited wealth, unlimited opportunity. And it's time that you wake up to your own magnificence. It's time that I wake up to my own magnificence so that we can start recognizing that inherent natural law that is within us, written on the fleshy tables of our heart in fulfillment of the new covenant that Jehovah was going to make with man. And we are living in that time when that is happening, when we are recognizing and remembering and awakening to who we are. And as we do this, we will no longer be able to not only ourselves violate natural law, but we will stop others from violating it and heal this psychopathy that permeates our governments and our institutions, the things that we've had to deal with in the matrix. And we transform the matrix into something that is totally different than we've ever known before. Something totally better, totally wonderful. Now, it's not going to happen, as I've said again and again, with the click of a finger, but I do wish there was some way that we could trigger a mass awakening so that multitudes, literally a great majority of humans on earth would start getting it. Because when that happens, wonderful things will start to progress really, really fast. And I'd like to believe we're on the cusp of that right now. We're at the threshold of creating that new world that works for everyone. And I want you to recognize within yourself the natural law. Again, do no harm, but ask yourself when you're ready to take any action, how would I feel if the shoe were on the other foot, if I were the recipient of this action I'm intending for someone else? Ask yourself that question. And I'll bet you your action will be transformed into one that's more peaceful and more loving. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. Namaste.